Welcome, everybody, to a Coach Flannery-less edition of Worthy of the Jersey. I'm here with my good friend and person some of you might recognize, although not without the beard. And a previous guest, we've got of Stipe Miocic's boxing coach fame, Alex Cooper, here with us. Alex, how you doing?
Not too bad. Glad to be here.
It's fun doing these introductions after we've been talking for 5 minutes and then sort of have to reset stuff like that. But Alex and I met each other probably about 16 years ago or so through working at the same place. Had a immediate bonds probably over just sports and fantasy football and things like that in general. And then as I got more into basketball stuff, Alex got more into boxing stuff. Which is interesting and sort of led him on a path where now if you watch the heavyweight champ Stipe's fights and you see him hitting the gloves, the tall, lanky guy taking them is Alex. So it's always a kick to see you. And I got to be honest, I had to do a double take on the fight last Saturday. With the beard and the shaggy hair. I think when I've seen you recently, I've seen the beard, but usually you're wearing a hat or something like that. So when I saw the hair, I wasn't sure if it was you or not at first.
Yeah, I had originally intended on rocking the bandana and then the gaiter that covered
thing. Yeah.
But right as we were about to walk out, because they have that contract with Reebok, they made me do anything your face covering had to have no writing on it. Even I had it was just an American flag gaiter. They wouldn't let me wear that, and then the bandana had to go as well. I was all natural at the fight. And
is that the Reebok stuff? That are they doing something different there soon or something like that? Because somebody I listened made a good point. Like UFC used to have all kinds of different kind of cool stuff, and I don't know if the Reebok's gone particularly well.
No, and it hurts a lot of the people's money. A starting out fighter, you got TV time. Sponsors, that's what they want. They want to see. So they used to be able to slap those logos on their shorts, and they made a decent amount of money. A brand new fighter makes $3,500, and they get some free clothes. Where they could almost get more than that, especially now that they're on ESPN. They can make a lot more money.
That's a good point.
So it's there are some positives. I mean, I do think they look a little more professional. It doesn't look like a NASCAR driver out there fighting, but monetarily for the fighters, which is always their complaint, it's not a good deal. But yeah, they're switching to April of next year. It's Venom, just for the clothing. Reebok's staying on for the footwear. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, Venom used to be a bigger company in that space, and they just decided to make a play. I was hoping for Nike or something, because we get – like even the coaches get when we show up, we get a bag full of clothes because we have to wear the Reebok stuff when we're on camera. So it's been nice. I haven't had to buy a workout piece of clothing in years.
That's true. Spoken like a true coach.
Exactly.
I want to start at the end the other night, and we're not going to try to go too long with this. And a more simplified format is something we're going for. But so take us to the end, because the scene on Saturday night after you win the fight against Daniel Cormier is different than any other fight you've had before, right? Where you're in the workout center for the UFC. Stipe himself probably, that's probably the biggest fight he's had to this point, right? And he sort of cemented his legacy as the greatest heavyweight in UFC up to this point. So arguably the biggest fight of his career, the biggest fight for you guys as his coaching team. So, but it's totally different. So what's the celebration? What's the scene kind of set us up for it after you've won the fight and you guys are able to enjoy that a little bit?
Yeah, it was totally weird, because normally, after a fight like that, the crowd's going insane. Your adrenaline's pumping. Like this time it was like, and still, and then, there's dead silence around there.
So no one there, right?
Yeah. So we hugged. He went in. He had to do the interview. There's a lot. We don't leave that arena, regardless of fans or not, for a long time. He does. He goes back and does interviews and press conference. So I want to say, and mind you, our hotel was 3 minutes away from the Apex Center.
Okay.
I don't think we got back to the hotel till about 1:30, local time there. And we were in a hotel, and they have a Contender Series fights on Tuesday. So if you left, you had to leave. So
if you left the hotel,
and we
like to go to a party or something like that.
Yeah, we couldn't come back into the hotel because there was people, we could have contaminated
right,
other people.
Right.
So, and our flight was at 7 a.m. So we got a couple cases of beer delivered, and we actually rewatched the fight.
Okay.
Which is something that's not typical. We normally, the night of the fight, I mean, unless it's a really short knockout, we might watch it a couple times, but a long fight like that, we've never done that before, but it just seemed like we were just kind of sipping some beers and watched that. And we probably went to bed around 3:30, 4, 5, something like that. I actually didn't fall asleep, but
that's probably
and then we were on the 5 o'clock shuttle back on a 7 o'clock flight. And we were home by about 2:30 next day, which was nice.
So a little subdued from your normal celebrations after winning or keeping the belt.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the rewatch of the fight like? What stuck out to you guys going back through it?
One of the major differences with the no fans was he was able to hear every single word. So, and that sort of emulated what we normally do in practice. I mean, our coaching staff sits outside the cage every single time he practices, and the way we were talking to him during the fight is exactly how it would be, in a practice. So I always say it's like playing a video game. He's such a good listener. So it was fun to be able to hear our audio and then see him there. We had code words for everything. So you'd hear the code word and then boom, seconds later he would do it. And then we asked him a couple times, because there was a couple times where, we'd say like, hey, look for this if you see it. Look for this if you see it. And so you could hear that through the audio. And he's like, I heard you guys, but I didn't want to get in the way of this. So it was kind of fun to hear his, hear his thoughts on some of the stuff that was going on. And then, you'd see him get hit and be like, that one hurt. He's like, oh, that one hurt. Oh, that one didn't hurt. Yeah, it was actually the only thing he was really hurt by, that shot in the first round, kind of hit him above the ear. That one hurt him a little bit, and he had a big little bump there. And then his shins, the kicks, like the next day at the airport, he was hobbling through the airport. That always happens, though. When he fought Dos Santos, when he fought Ngannou, he's always limping around.
I think it was the Ngannou fight I'm thinking of. They were kind of kicking the crap out of each other, and he almost got like a little fracture or something, didn't he?
Yeah. That was the Dos Santos fight. Yeah, he
Dos Santos. Okay.
Yeah, he crushed him with 2 legs. That was actually why he pushed the pace and wanted to end the fight. He didn't think he got kicked so hard in that fight. He didn't think he'd be able to finish all 5. So he was like, "All right, time to go."
And you guys were the ones telling him to push Cormier up against the cage in front of you guys, right?
Yeah, we have a really good wrestling coach that helps that's been helping all 3 Cormier fights. His name's Adam DeSabato. He was a former Ohio State wrestler. He came up every Saturday when we concentrated. We basically just worked on situational stuff with Cormier, and that was one of the things we saw from the last fight was the double underhooks, keeping his hands high along the cage. He can't do anything, and then he likes to pummel down in to get a position to then throw over top. So the way he was keeping his shoulder tight and holding the one wrist kind of alleviated that. And it shows well too. It's hard to lose rounds when you got somebody pinned against the cage for 3 minutes.
Yeah. And that's for people like me that don't know the scoring. I mean, that's something that adds to the, Stipe winning those rounds. Right. And it did look like he was really focused on holding the right arm down, and you could tell he was jamming his shoulder right into his chest. Which it's got to be tiring for both those guys.
Oh yeah, and the jam in the shoulder and the small little knees, those are just to stay active enough so the ref doesn't break them up.
Okay, that's interesting. What's the feeling for you guys in the corner when you're probably 3 or 4 seconds away from ending the fight at the end of the second round?
Oh, so actually a good little story. So I actually screamed. You're not supposed to talk to the ref. That's
okay.
So with about 2 seconds ago, I thought they were going to let him, because, the other part, if that would have been with fans, when somebody gets knocked down like that, the fans would have gone insane. I don't think the ref would have heard the.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And Daniel looked bad. He may have stopped it with 1 second to go because they wouldn't have known. Where in that place, he heard the clap. He knew there was only 10 seconds to go. He was going to let that go. Right. So with about 1 second to go, I just go, stop it. If we walked in at that round, he comes over to our corner to yell at us afterward. But I thought Stipe said afterward, he goes, another 8 to 10 seconds. He's like, I would have had him.
Over.
Like he was there.
Did you notice? I think Cormier asked his corner when he went back if they did stop the fight.
Well, he asked him if he got knocked down. He goes,
Okay.
Did I go down? Did I go down? And his corner told him no, which I don't know what the rationale there was. I mean, they know their guy better than we do, but they told him no.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought it was in a sense of he was asking if it was over or something. Yeah, he definitely wasn't there, but you've seen enough fights where guys come back from that to win.
Yeah.
So when you get that close, but man, Stipe is a guy that just never seems level no matter what.
Well, that was the other kind of advantage of not having the fans there, because we could coach all through the round. It wasn't as urgent in the corner to give a bunch of instruction. Really, what our job was in the corner, I mean, they only went to us once, just to get his breathing down, get him relaxed. We spent the first 20 to 25 seconds in the corner just getting his mind right, getting him brought back down, get the heart rate down, and then a little bit of, like I said, because we were coaching the whole time, so just kind of reiterating what we were saying throughout the round. So I think that was also very key, because it got him. You saw how relaxed he was to start every round. So
yeah, for sure. So as that fight goes longer, does your game plan change a little bit? And did you guys feel like going into especially the fifth round, that as long as he stayed on his feet, you're going to win the fight?
Yeah, we were a little we talked about it. We go, it's probably 3-1, but everybody loves DC, so we're like, it could be 2-2. I mean, that's probably not the likely score, but it could be 2-2. So we told him we in the corner between the fourth and the fifth. We told him we wanted him to win the round, keep doing what he's doing. Don't hold back, but you don't need a knockout though. That was we didn't want him to go charging forward and walk into something, but we wanted him to clearly win the round. We called for him to try to get a takedown at the very end of the round. He was right in front of our corner, and he had him up against the cage.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah, he told us afterward, he goes, it just wasn't there. He goes, I thought I had already won the round, and I was still jamming him up against the cage. He goes, I thought I could have been reversed, and then maybe he could have been on top, and I didn't want that. So, and that's the kind of guy Stipe is. He does he's very high IQ in the cage. We just give him suggestions, and he kind of takes what he sees.
He figures it out. Well, and to those guys' credit, to me, the exhaustion didn't come through until maybe the last 30 seconds of the fight.
Yeah.
When they were kind of throwing the sloppy punches. But I'm sure they were both tired as hell, but you didn't really see that until the last little sequence there.
And I think this was the best shape Cormier was in of all three fights. I thought this was the best version.
It's hard to tell with him.
Yeah. But I thought, he did a lot of work. So hats off to him. That was definitely the best him that showed up. So,
well, and Stipe, and you mentioned to me that he was having a great camp, and you never know what that means. And then you see him on the fight, and he was clearly maybe in the best shape he's ever been. I mean, he looked as slim as I can ever remember seeing him. So, was that a strategy for you guys? And I don't know what you can mention about just being the champ, and usually if somebody has a slip up in a camp, it's usually the guy with the belt, right? So for him to have that great of a camp, even though he was the one holding the belt, can you sort of talk about that mindset?
Yeah, he's very self-motivated. So when the fight, he decided he wanted to do it again, and the fight came up. I think the fight came up in right after the shutdown happened. They actually wanted it a lot earlier. And at this point,
right.
Gyms were closed. They wanted it in the July card. And at that point, our gym wasn't even open. We didn't really have to go. So we kind of petitioned for that August date. And then he got one of his sponsors to kind of make a home gym for him. And he also moved into a new house that has a big swimming pool. So we knew we were going to do a little bit of changing, but then the conditions also made him change. We did a lot of work in the swimming pool.
Okay.
I would literally catch pads in the swimming pool. We did a lot of breathing type exercises. And it was at his house. So instead of, having to leave his kid and get in the car and drive to the gym, and then, you're tired afterwards, so you're laying around, you drag ass to get back home. He was literally, his daughter was in the swimming pool with us sometimes,
that's awesome.
Cheering him on. And, he's, so I think mentally it really helped a lot of things, because he'd literally just, wake up or roll off the couch and we'd be there and we'd do our pad work or we'd do the swimming workout. And it just worked. There wasn't as much pounding on his body. It was a much more controlled camp. We're trying to adjust as he gets older, and it just worked. I mean, I wouldn't say we did anything crazy different.
Right.
There was probably a little bit less lifting and a lot more swimming, but I guess you can call that cardio. Right. And then we also did a lot of I would catch pads in the swimming pool. We'd be both in the swimming pool. So with that resistance on his legs, it just kind of kept his legs a lot fresher. But yeah, I think I asked him leading up to the fight, I think his waist was like a 31.
That's crazy.
At 235 pounds. It's insane. I mean, so I told him, I wish I was a little bit bigger so I could wear his clothes. He gets cool clothes.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, it was noticeable. I was like, wow. And you almost hope he's not too small in some
respects, what I mean.
Right?
Midway through the camp, we started seeing him small, and all of us were like, listen, our game plan has to do with continual movement. Yeah, the power never left. I mean, you can feel the power when you're catching the pads. The power never left. So we were like, we don't see a problem with it. If he would have dipped to under 220, we might have had him eat up. But that's the beautiful part. I mean, he went, he eats good. I mean, he eats a lot, but just keeps it real clean. But then with the workouts, it just totally shredded him up.
So coming off the second fight, do you want to take credit for the adjustment to hit the body shots in that second DC fight?
We do a ton of body work. He's a great body puncher anyway. Now, I will say, leading into that camp, DC in the first fight was real, like, he would kind of fold down. Yeah. That was sort of his way. He would, do this sort of stuff. So we didn't have a lot of body strategy, but we always have done it. We have combinations with codes that we've been doing forever. And when he came out in the second fight and he was more like this, we actually started calling for it in the third round, but it was so loud that he never heard it. Then he saw it as well. So in between the third and the fourth round, Marcus was like, hey, if it's there, look down at the body. He goes, it's there. And then he came out and threw the 13
he crushed him.
Strikes or whatever it was. But yeah, that punch is awesome to him. If you saw, we adjusted a little bit this fight. We thought that he might stay real tight on that side.
Sure.
So we started pivoting a little bit and sending the shot here.
Yeah, there's more centered, right?
Yeah, and then that also alleviates the counter. We thought maybe he would kind of embrace this side and come over top and counter, where if we hit here, we'd be more off to the side. So we still wanted to go down to the body, but we had to change our approach just a little bit.
It's wild. I mean, do you guys think of, one adjustment like that has probably literally shifted the career arc of Stipe and you guys as a team? Yeah. But that's what it takes. I mean, that's sports, right?
Yeah. We watch. I mean, we're film junkies. I can, from the second fight, I can almost do commentary for you with my eyes closed. I probably watched it 100 times because that's when I'm doing the pads. I'm trying to be like Cormier. So I have to kind of mimic his movements. And so I watch it a lot for that purpose. And then we also watch our guy. We try to see what we did wrong and what the opponent might see, so that way we can stay ahead of it. I mean, that's one of the first things we always do when prepping for a fight is watch our last two fights, see what we, pretend we're them and what we see on the film and make that adjustment first. And then we move toward making the adjustments toward the opponent.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That was going to be my next question, and it's a good lesson for coaches is the self-scouting and the self-evaluation, right? So, do you look at the history of the fighter? So using Cormier and probably watching all, or most at least, of his fights, do you try to sort of take the mindset of him and his coaches as far as what kind of adjustments you see? Is that something that you can do when you try to anticipate that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we watched, like, the first time he fought Cormier, I watched every single one of his fights. And then some aren't applicable, like he was fighting a southpaw, or he was, fighting a guy that was a jiu-jitsu guy. So we kind of, even was still watching just to see if you see anything, but then you kind of pull those out, and then you find the guys that, how you think he's going to fight. And then you just start watching those over and over and start seeing if you can see any tendencies, and then start practicing those. And then this fight, really the only thing we watched was the last two. We didn't even mess with them. We didn't even mess with the other fights, but we watched, the first one's not that long, but we watched that.
Right.
But the second one, there's a ton of film in that second one. So.
Right. What were the main adjustments you guys were expecting from Cormier?
We thought that he would go for a takedown early, which he did.
Right.
And, I mean, he's a freaking Olympic wrestler. We weren't jaded enough to think that we couldn't go down. So a lot of the practice we did was getting up. That's why he was able to get up like that. I mean,
he did great.
We put him in shitty situations in practice and was like, go, get up, and then right back down, do it again. And we, in that situation, we looked at every fight that Cormier has. What does he do when he gets somebody down? So we would put them in that position, have them mimic his movements, and came up, like I said, Adam came up with some great strategies, and they all worked.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and it was really only the one time he sort of got Stipe down, right? Like they were on the mat a lot more the second fight, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he held him in the first fight. He held him down for almost 3 minutes in that first round. I mean, he was down 2 seconds this first fight or this last fight.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, he was fantastic. So I want to talk about your coaching staff, but sort of going through the Stipe fights, does this one stick out above the rest, or is there a memory that you have that's a favorite?
It's close, but I still think the Ngannou fight is my favorite. I mean, we were almost a 2-1 underdog in that one.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was ready for the video of Stipe's head going to the moon off Ngannou, and that was just an utter. I mean, it was 50-44 was the final score on that one. I mean, that was just an utter beatdown, and it was cool. It was in Boston. I had never really been to Boston like that. The fans were amazing. Yeah. The Cleveland celebrities that were there at that one. I mean, like I always tell people, our after party in our hotel that night consisted of Machine Gun Kelly, Corey Kluber.
That's awesome.
Brandon
that alone is awesome.
It was like I'm sitting in this room, and I'm sitting in this room like, well, how did I get here? This is out of this world. So that fight always kind of will stand out, but this one we wanted bad. We wanted bad.
Sure.
We always thought he was the greatest heavyweight of all time, and basically the society dictated we needed to win this one to lock it in, and so getting it is just awesome.
No, you got to prove it. No, and I told you, with us at St. Ed's too, we come across a lot of the underdog or the Cinderella stories on the other sideline, right? So sometimes it's not as much fun to root for, your story. Like everybody, wanted DC to win his retirement fight and all that stuff. But you know what? You got to internalize your own Cinderella story.
Exactly.
And yeah, you were sort of telling me how confident you guys were, and you never know what to believe. But when I saw how good Stipe looked, for lack of a better way of putting it, yeah, I said I was pretty confident, unless he just got unlucky and caught something. But he fought a great fight. And then the Ngannou fight, you're right, man. I remember watching that. It reminded me, and I know you got into boxing too, and like watching the old boxing fights where you had the veteran, like Hall of Fame boxer just kind of putting on a clinic on a younger guy, right? That here's the guy that's maybe got all the power and the hype, but this dude just is a technician. And Stipe wasn't necessarily known for that, right? Because Stipe's a knockout guy. But man,
people thought we were going to box him.
He just outfought, and he just demoralized them.
Yep.
And you could tell that was an awesome thing to watch. That was a good one. So before we wrap up, I want to do a few minutes on, because I'm guessing a lot of people don't know. So you guys, and Stipe, to his credit, always calls you, his team, and you guys have a coaching staff, like how a football team or a basketball team might have a coaching staff. So describe your coaching staff and who has what roles, and sort of how that works for, how you guys work with your fighters.
Yeah. So Marcus Marinelli is the head coach. He also owns Strong Style Gym. He's the wizard. He's the genius. He's the Phil Jackson, if you will.
Sure.
And he's our staff talks almost every single day. I mean, now that you got the Bluetooth in the car, I mean, when you're sitting in the car, you call one of them and you talk about, we leave the gym and we talk on the way home. So he's in charge of the Muay Thai pads. So any pads, including kicks, he helps develop this, he's the main, strategist, in conjunction.
Okay.
And then he's also putting together the schedule, what we need to do when, if something's not working, do we need to do it more? Who do we need to bring in, that sort of stuff. I sort of work as an assistant to him as well as boxing. Now Marcus actually had to get a shoulder surgery during this camp. So I took on a lot of the pad work. I basically did all of it until about 2 weeks ago. Marcus could start doing it again. And so then he started helping out at that point. So I took a lot of shots this time.
So you're black and blue?
Ooh, I'm tired. That's really it. And then Bobby Khalil he's the one you can give a lot of the credit for how great Stipe looked. He's a strength and conditioning coach. Okay. The last 12 weeks, he probably spent more time with Stipe than he did his own wife. I mean, he ran every single one of those pool workouts. We did them every Wednesday and Friday morning. He ran all of Stipe's conditioning. He also does a lot of the he's like, Bobby's this little wild man. He takes these sticks and comes running at Stipe like a crazy person so we can work on him keeping his defense. So he does all that. Steve Kines is his grappling coach. He's the big, really big dude in the corner. He used to have the handlebar mustache. Now he's got the beard. He's actually a Cleveland police officer. Him and Stipe have been friends forever. Awesome. Phenomenal grappler, and he's huge. So he's there to, mimic and, be that big body so we can emulate, the heavyweight body. Obviously, me, Marcus, and Bobby are pretty small. And then Pablo Castro is the jiu-jitsu coach. He's been Stipe's jiu-jitsu coach from the beginning. And then, we got some other players that, kind of help out along the periphery that maybe aren't in the corner. Like I said, Adam DeSabato came in for this camp for wrestling. We Cal Kroll's another strength and conditioning coach. Brian Gideon's one of our other boxing coaches. Yep. So, and then honestly, our team is awesome. We have two other UFC fighters, Lexa Kamur, who's in the 205-pound division, and Jeff Hughes, who is also a heavyweight. So they were his main sparring partners. Antonio Nieves is one of our boxers. He was, because our strategy had a lot to do with boxing and movement. He's believe it or not, he's a 118-pound boxer. So we had him kind of work with Stipe on showing the footwork, making sure, hey, this is what you got to do. It might seem different for a heavyweight, but it'll work. And then Joe Delguide's, kind of my mentor on the boxing side. He's our head boxing, pro boxing coach. And he really came in and helped a lot. He always helps me. That's my, whenever I got a question or, he's my mentor for sure. So he's always very helpful. So it's a close knit team. It's a family team, but it takes a village for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of our staff. So it sounds like a main coaching staff of 5, and then it grows out from there. So do you guys have? So does Marcus put together almost like a practice plan or something like that as far as what specifically drill wise and workout wise you guys want to do? How much time you might spend on boxing versus jiu-jitsu and wrestling and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have a general schedule. Sort of the whole team follows. Monday is either boxing or kickboxing sparring. Tuesday's jiu-jitsu. Wednesday's off. Thursday's full MMA. Friday's Muay Thai, and Saturday we kind of call it pull it all together. And then there's conditioning mixed throughout the week. That's the general schedule. And then we just adjust based on the opponent. Like Jeff Hughes is fighting at the end of the month. He's fighting a very strong jiu-jitsu guy, so we're gonna focus a lot more on jiu-jitsu with him. So we'll modify it slightly, and that's where Marcus comes into play.
Awesome. And I do want to wrap up. Give everybody a quick 2 minutes on your background, how you got into this. You are a Cleveland kid, grew up here, so the love for Cleveland is genuine. I've seen that firsthand and know that. But why don't you just tell everybody, you've got a unique background and how you kind of got into it.
Born and raised here. My dad was a big boxing person. I grew up in Mentor, went to Mentor High School, went down to Miami of Ohio for college, came right back here, got the job working with Tim right off the bat. Always loved boxing. Never really trained it too hard, trained a little bit. And then once I got out of college, I really just was looking for something. I played lacrosse in college, and there's not really, at college graduate, there's not really whole lot of leagues around. So I wanted to do something. One of my good buddies was like, let's go train boxing. So we started training boxing, and then we started training each other. And I got pretty good at the hand pads, and honestly, it was like a snowball from there. The reason I ended up over at Stipe's gym when my wife and I moved to Bay Village, which is on the west side of Cleveland, the gym that I was working out at was on the east side of Cleveland, and I was literally thinking about quitting just because I was getting home late at night after working at the bank all day.
Sure.
And I called Joe Delguide, who's, like I said, my mentor, and he was like, I wanted some of the guys I was training not getting up on the streets. So I wanted him to kind of take them over. I was fully intending on quitting. And he goes, nah. He goes, I'll take them. He's like, but I want you to. Just come when you can. You don't have to be there every day. Because when you train a boxer, you kind of got to be there every day. Boxing training for a boxer is not like MMA. Normally, it's a very one-on-one trainer-fighter relationship. So I just wasn't able to pull off the everyday. But me and him as a squad were able to do it all the time. And then being in the gym, it just sort of fit to go to the MMA side because, you know, the days that they work jiu-jitsu, I don't have to be there. So it kind of fits my schedule a little better.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's awesome. So last things, one, you guys as a team, so when Stipe wins the belt, and I know he's got a bunch of them at his house, do you guys get a ring or something like that as his team?
No, they don't.
You guys need to look into that.
Yeah, we'll have to do something. I mean, at this point, we always thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer, and even maybe if he slipped on a banana peel and lost this one, he probably still would have been a Hall of Famer. But now, you know, it's locked.
Yeah, it's a lock, right?
So that's actually what we're looking forward to now. I think that'll be a really fun trip when he gets inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. You know, we can actually bring our wives with us, go out to Vegas, have some fun. You know, maybe we'll do something for that. But that's really the one we're looking forward to.
We might have to tag along for that one.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, that would be something else. And then are you guys expecting more fights, or, you know, can you talk about that for Stipe at this point?
Yeah, we don't really know. You know, that's one we kind of let him. We'll give him our opinion always on opponents and stuff, but we sort of let him and his wife and his management figure that all out. You know, our job's to win fights and game plan for fights. So whatever he decides. He really does not. This is no joke. He's been this way he does not like to talk about the next fight unless it was the championship fight. You know, he wanted that one.
Yeah, for sure.
He does not. For about a month, he doesn't like to talk about anything. I mean, we were on the ride home. I think Dana White was trying to get a hold of him, and couldn't.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's like, nah, I'm gonna take a little time, think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's the perfect Cleveland guy, man.
I mean, he literally yesterday was his birthday, and he had to work a 8-hour shift at the.
I saw that. I saw the Instagram post. That was awesome. That's great. That's great. Well, anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
Yeah, just you know, Cleveland, man. I love representing Cleveland. That's what we do. We go in, we work hard, and we win. So yeah.
So you're more active on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's more my big Al Diddy on Instagram, and anybody that wants any sort of Stipe or strong style memorabilia, we got a nice little pro shop down at the gym in Independence on 6900 Granger Road. If anybody wants any Stipe shirts and stuff, we got a lot of stuff down there.
That's a good point. That's a good call.
I also,
thanks for the time.
If anybody wants to learn to fight, I teach a boxing class on Monday nights at 5 and 6. That's just for people off the street. It's not, you don't have to come in and fight. You just it's more of a cardio boxing class. That's strong style.
Oh, there you go. That's a good workout. Well, hey, I just I don't know who's going to check this out, but if Stipe does fight again and people are allowed, if there'd be one more Cleveland fight, that would be pretty awesome.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
The win in 2016 was, you know, that in the Cavs game we went to, Game 6, probably two of my most favorite sporting events I've ever been to.
Yeah, absolutely. That was walking out of that tunnel in Quicken Loans was amazing, and then just like literally seeing people in shirts, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, and that was a great fight. I mean, he got stumbled early and came back, and that arena just exploded. It was awesome. It was great. Well, hey, thanks for the time. To you and your team, I've seen the sentiment, and I will echo it. In what's been kind of a shitty year, that fight the other night was a definite highlight for all of us in Cleveland. It was a great performance. You guys, the preparation and the work you put in really showed, and dominating performance by one of the great Cleveland athletes of our time, which is wild to say. Getting to know you guys a little bit, but it's true, and it's been a cool story, and it's cool to sharing it through our friendship too. So I appreciate you and appreciate you being on here.
Appreciate it as well, man.
I'll go get your ass kicked in our fantasy leagues. And,
I gotta go figure out my.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for checking us out. Me and Coach Flan will probably be back tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff going on in high school. There's some new stuff we want to roll out, so we'll be on that soon. Check out our archive on search Worthy of the Jersey on any podcast apps. A lot of coaching stuff, a lot of good USA basketball stuff from over the summer. You can find me on Twitter at Timmy's24, same on Instagram. And if there's any questions or comments, please find them, leave them on social media. Until next time, appreciate you, everybody, listening. Have a good one.
See you later.
All right, man. Thanks.
Cool. You got it.
I think that was good. I think we caught all the good stuff. That's interesting though, because I've heard